I'm Dave Fawcett, and here we are sat in a car park in Avignon behind a circus. This is my home that I've been living in since 1992. For the last 20 years I've actually been out of England, travelling around Europe, southern France, northern Spain and Portugal with it. I suppose my interest in travelling started with the festival scene in England as it was in the early 80s. I'd seen about it on the news, met a few people who lived in buses sometimes when they came through towns like Leicester, where I was at university at the time. It seemed like a good thing to do for the summer, go to a festival, listen to a few bands, enjoy the English summer and what have you. And then first 3 or 4 years I'd go back into town after 3 or 4 months and try and get my head around living a so-called normal life in bricks again. After doing up to, I suppose the third winter was the final straw. I realised I couldn't do it anymore, so 1988, when someone offered me space on their bus at the first festival at Ingliston, I said, yeah, why not? And then that was it. No going back. So my first vehicle was a British Telecom TK, which is easy to drive, easy to maintain. Already came with a good service record. So for someone who knew nothing about weirding spanners, it was a soft way to become a traveller. Also, I was lucky in knowing people who had already spent a few years on the road, who were family types, so they're calm and fairly sorted people. So if ever I needed anything, I could go and help them, ask them for things, and they'd give me help, advice, sorted things out. My father also being a passionate person for steam engines, traction engines, so he used to take me to vintage rallies. So I was already photographing steam ploughing in November and vintage events around England. So when I started taking my own photographs by myself, I also started taking old vehicles, trucks, buses, and then when I obviously found friends who were living in them, it was a natural thing to take photographs of their homes as well, from the aspect of being a home and the aspect of being an old interesting vehicle. After several years I found I had an archive of about 10,000 photos, which for many years sat in cupboards doing nothing, especially when I'd come up to Europe and didn't have anyone to actually show or share the photographs with. Luckily, thanks to a friend who's in the web business, this developed into a website. This scenic photo shows a Bedford bus being slowly recycled. It was on its third engine change, and the person who'd done the third engine said he wasn't going to put a fourth one in, so the owner agreed with him and said, okay, so we scrap it, weigh it in. This was done in the middle of Torquay Tree Fair in 1989 in Cornwall. Being stuck in the middle of a large travellers' site with maybe 200 to 300 vehicles, many of which were of the same make and model, there was no point in getting money for the scrap metal. It was much better if parts could be reused by neighbours. So 3 guys spent a week slowly taking the bus apart, carefully, piece by piece. And after a week, I think there was left a prop shaft, maybe 1 or 2 other parts, bits of chassis, maybe a couple of body parts to be sold for money. And all the rest had been recycled with neighbours in their vehicles or was to get to spares. The AEC, maroon AEC with Peking destination board on it, was parked up on Hay Bluff one year after we'd been to Clary Court, where every year for a few years there was held a benefit weekend to make money for the Travellers' School bus charity. And then after one of the festivals here at Clary Court, we decided to go for a few days onto Hay Bluff, where in the autumn it's quite nice to walk around in the Welsh hillsides with the sun and the wind and looking around the ground to find magic mushrooms. Many people obviously bought an old vehicle, converted the inside of it, and then decided that the outside also needed a change of scene, and then either, like myself, got out a few rollers and paintbrushes and did something quite easy to do with masking tape and a few lines here and there, or they could get someone with more artistic qualities, capabilities and let them have free range on their vehicle. Sound systems were part of the end and a new beginning of the Travellers scene. The end of the stage set festival scenario and the beginning of the new input, new music, which unfortunately with Castle Morton meant the end of the festival scene, which saw myself and a lot of other travellers, but also many sound systems, including spirals, coming to Europe. Unfortunately, by the time I got this sorted out in 1994, it was the twilight era of what had been the travelling scene. People were starting to, especially people with families, were really starting to disappear. The techno scene had come in full time, which didn't please everyone, and which saw a change in attitudes, a change in how the scene operated, and the festival scene after 1992 Castle Morton was finished, really. So then, just before the 1994 Criminal Justice Act came in, I decided that that was it. There wasn't really much point in staying in England. So along with quite a few other people, I hopped over to Europe on a ferry, started doing the festivals here, then found a way to live with the fruit work, and then found that I could live here quite easily, and there was less hassle living as I wanted to. So I've carried on, and here I still am. The education was done amongst ourselves for the children, but unfortunately when the pressure got too much, a lot of people found themselves, especially for the sake of the children, that it was better to go back into structured house society, and so it became more and more harder to survive as people were used to. Especially as it was a lifestyle based on self-help and relying on people around you, which works when there's a lot of people around you who are capable of offering something, but when there's less and less people willing to help, or just less and less people around to be there when situations arise, it meant that it does become more of a survival aspect situation. And it gets harder as well, especially as one gets older. I'm now in my early 50s. I have no pension scheme. I have no settled background to go back to. I've chosen a lifestyle that for the moment I'm happy to carry on living with, but obviously the thought is in the back of the mind, but how much longer, especially as most of my generation of travellers have long since stopped living like I do, where the expression of being one of the last of the Mohicans comes from. But at the same time, it's what I've been doing for nearly half my life. It gives me a lot of pleasure, as well as sometimes stress and hardship, but that's part of the lifestyle. So you learn to live with it.